to the Wild West podcast. You can see that we are here in full force, all three of us. There is some additional news here. We are in talks with at least two separate Chiefs guys to come on the show. So we're hoping to be completely filled out, hopefully, if all things go as planned. So that'll be great. Now, on that note, my name is Richie Riche of the MHRT Network for now. Get to that one later. And we got over here DZ representing his Los Angeles Chargers. And we got Nabman repping the Vegas Raiders.
Yes, sir.
It's nice to have kind of the band back together, as it were. We are in a really interesting time of the year, to say the least. That being said, though, because there's so much attention that you can place and analyze on each of our teams, rather than having real news and real game on field and that sort of stuff, you are allowed to have your mind go a little bit, we'll say, wander, as it were. and that's really where the topic of this show is going to land us, which is let's go deep and think about our teams, and we're going to talk about three surprise moves and or cuts that could be made for each of our teams and what we believe they will be. So DZ, over to you, and see what you got to say to the fans that are here on the show, and we'll go from there.
Well, first of all, just want to wish everybody a good evening or wherever you're at. We've kind of had a little bit of a hiatus, or at least I have. I think it's been a couple weeks since we've been on all together.
Yeah.
I think we got 9 days till training camp. I think that's for the Panthers and Cardinals kicking off the Hall of Fame game. Snooze fest, but look, man, I'm dying for some football, so definitely will be tuning into that. I don't care
I'll be
bad.
watching.
Yeah.
My wife's a Panthers fan, so therefore
I don't want to be mean to the Panthers. I think they'll actually be pretty decent, but Cards, on the other hand, probably not so much. But Richie and I were talking about this, I think last night. It's like, three surprising moves or surprising cuts, kind of trying to predict the 53. And the guys I'm going to talk about, I'll do one at a time. We're not going to run through all three.
Yeah.
They're actually no-brainers to a lot of the Charger fans. And the first one I'll mention is Bud Dupree. Bud Dupree, I was excited when we got him a couple years ago to kind of help out in that edge room. And he's 33 years old, and he plays like he's 35, 40. He's not one of those guys that's aging well. I will give him credit, though. He's solid. Like, he's like games played. Like, he doesn't miss games, really. But last year, he only had 2 sacks. And even as a rotational guy, that just doesn't cut it, man. And but this all hinges on stuff. This all hinges on Tuli Pelotu getting his extension before the season kicks off. I think if Tuli gets his extension, I think that's where they might feel comfortable with, like, saying, all right, dude, like, we're going to release you. And I'm sure a team will pick him up, especially have a vet in their room in the edge room. But we also brought in Akeem Mesidor with our first-round pick. And then we have a UDFA that I really haven't talked about, but Nadam Tucker, who was at Western Michigan with the new DC, Chris O'Leary. And he was, MAC Defensive Player of the Year, second-team All-American, 55 tackles, and 14.5 sacks last season. So you've got 2 young bulls coming in. I don't know what he says. The Chargers win the division. That's something that I had I'll talk about that a little later that I have in a group chat. And then there's also another guy floating around, is Kyle Kennard. Kyle Kennard was a guy that they drafted, I believe, in 24, 20, yeah, I think it was 24. I'm not 100%. He's been a non-factor, man. He's been a non-factor. But the thing is, if you look at what this guy did, he was like the SEC Defensive Player of the Year. The year he came out, he was just killing it. And then he comes to the Chargers, and like he can't make a dent. So it's going to be interesting to see how this edge room fills out. But I'm excited for it. I think it can become a strength, and I like the youth coming in. And but I think Bud Dupree might be on the way out, especially when the 53 comes, because there's some guys you just don't want to put on that practice squad. Richie, we've talked about it. You don't want to have that risk of them getting poached. But a guy like Bud, like, I think he's getting like 600,000 or something. I don't know what his contract is. I think he signed like a 2-year contract a couple years ago or whatever. But yeah, that's the first guy that I'm probably, I wouldn't be super shocked to not see him make the 53. You guys want to go next?
Yeah, I'm just looking at Ardell here. Actually, here, I'll look at this one here.
Hanson.
He go back to that comment where he said about the Chargers. I'll just go ahead and say it, what I was saying. I'm in a group chat with a bunch of Chargers fans, and
it pains me.
Do you have those?
And
but I mean, how much is a bunch?
There's like 50 of us, but it's a specific type
50?
of Charger. It's a specific type of people in this chat.
Okay, gotcha.
And I'll talk to you about it in private.
Gotcha.
But a lot of guys like, Richie, this is something you and I actually talked about this today, and this is something that you and I kind of talked about last night. A lot of the guys just love to drink the Kool-Aid of their team, man. Like, we're going 17-0, we're the best, blah blah blah, all this, right? And I love that there's people like that, but at the same time, it makes me nauseous. I get nauseated by that talk. And I said my hot take was the only way the Chargers are going to the playoffs is you have to win the division. I only think one team comes out of our division this year, going into this season. And I'll give reasons for that. Is if all the people are watching, look back to all the teams in the AFC that lost their quarterbacks or who missed a bunch of time. The AFC was weird last year. It was a weird year. I mean, Lamar, he missed like multiple games. Burrow was out. Mahomes, tore his ACL like week whatever it was. I don't remember. I think Daniel Dimes got hurt. You know what I mean? Like all these teams that were supposed to compete in the AFC essentially fizzled out, especially like, look, there's two things. You cannot make it in this league with a bad quarterback or a bad O-line. You know what I mean? You could fake it, and you could have a subpar O-line and limp in, but then, when it levels up, it shows, and I'm pointing to the Chargers because that's what's happened in the last couple of playoffs. You limp into the playoffs, and you got to play behind this subpar O-line. These other teams just eat you alive. But, that's my hot take is I don't think multiple teams are coming out of our division. I think it's one team just because of how competitive the rest of the division will be and the schedule we got the NFC West, right? All of us have the NFC West, and then we have who's the other division that we're playing? It's not an easy schedule at all. I mean, I think the Raiders might have the easiest out of them, but it's tough.
It's close between the Broncos and the Raiders, I think.
I think we have the Chargers have the 12th strength of schedule or something like that.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Yeah,
it's not fun. It's not fun.
Yeah, the Broncos have a gauntlet to start the season.
Right, we've talked about that.
The first 6 games are going to be brutal. It's now if the Broncos come out of those first 6 games 4-2,
you need to be positive.
5-1.
Yeah.
then man, as a Broncos fan, you better
Thanks,
be
Bob.
ecstatic. You literally better be ecstatic for that.
Yeah,
You're
AFC
right,
East.
AFC
We got to.
East. Yeah.
We're
Thanks,
messing
Bob.
with the
Thanks for
AFC
that.
East as well. Yep,
Yeah.
agreed.
So
You know,
if the
yeah.
Broncos end up with that like 4-2, 5-1, or something in that general range through those first 6 games, even if the Broncos are say 3-3 coming out of those first 6
batting
games,
500.
You'd be
batting
good to go.
500, then that would pretty much make the Broncos a pretty dangerous team overall, because when you get to the it's almost a flip mirror image when you get to the latter part of the season for the most part for the Broncos, where our schedule is a little bit easier. So if we go through a gauntlet and come up, somewhere, 50-50 or 60-40 or 80-20, then we're going to be in very good shape as a team. And to your point, DZ, it's not just that your offensive line has to be like either your quarterback or offensive line or both need to be in that upper kind of general block for you to truly succeed when you get into the playoffs. But part of an offensive line in particular being excellent or above average or any of those sorts of things is to have developed depth at various positions behind the starters.
Oh yeah.
So that you can weather what is going to be the inevitable storm when one or more of your guys go down for what will be injuries. Now, I'm not trying to poke fun at your Chargers. This is not the goal of the segment here. But I think if we're going to be honest, and I mean truly honest, the Chargers have really, truly struggled with injuries.
Snake bit.
Yeah, like big time in the last couple of years. And, last year I think is a pretty solid example.
Losing your probably the best tackle duo in the league. I don't know if they will be. There's some other teams that I really like Detroit's O-line. But you lose Slater and then you lose Alt. You know what I mean? Like I think Alt played 5 games or 9 games, one of those two.
Yeah.
And then Omarion Hampton only played 9 games, and then it's just this thing, and you're just like, dude, it's hard to compete when some of your best players are not there when you need them, and that's at the end of the season. You know what I mean? But for once, I like the depth. It's a lot of it's unproven. It's a lot of youth. You know what I mean? When we all saw each other's drafts, I love the O-line. They went trenches like crazy, and I'm like, I'm all for it, baby. Love me some hog mollies. But dude, I agree. You need solid QB and solid O-line, and a lot of things got to go right, including my team. But Bud Dupree is my first guy, and who wants to go next?
I'll go.
All right, let's hear Nav. Who's your surprise move?
You want to hear my rant? I'm about to have a rant. Okay.
All right, we got a Nav rant, guys.
DZ, I got to show you something. See this?
Oh, of course.
It's a silver bullet. Silver bullet, baby. What is it? Is it a Yeti? Oh, that's cool. I like that.
Check this out. Bluetooth speaker, bro. My wife bought that for me, bro.
What an angel she is.
I know. She didn't even know there was a speaker.
That's pretty cool. I really like that.
Well, let's pretend she did.
It is actually, the sound out of it is actually pretty cool.
You're gonna have to ask her where she got it or whatever, because I might need to get me 1 or 2 of those.
I'm pretty sure Amazon. That's her go-to.
So just saying. Same with the missus here.
It could be Etsy, could be Temu, could be something. I don't know. I'll ask her though for you, DZ.
Appreciate it.
However, Raider Nation, stop it. Okay? Stop it. That's all I'm trying to say. Me and Sacktown Raider Mike are going to get a little bit freaking busy on Saturday. We're going to do a live show. I'll have all my equipment back up here. I'll have all the lighting and everything here, and you guys got to bear with me for now. Okay? But I'm telling you, Terry and Arnold is not going to be a Raider. Okay? And I'm also going to tell you, neither Stephon Diggs, neither is freaking Max Crosby leaving the Raiders. It ain't happened. Stop it. Pundits, all you people trying to make a living and get those clicks, stop it. It is not happening. Stop. I don't even need to talk about these people that are working their ass off in training camp. I don't need to talk about, I don't even need to worry about them coming into training camp. Don't even care about any of that. These dudes are going to work their ass off. I've seen enough from this coaching staff to tell us that we are headed in the right direction. I am sick and tired of people saying we're going to bring cancer in or we're going to send great people out. Max has already said, Raider till I die now, after the Ravens did him the way he did. I'm sick of hearing that shit. Me and Sacktown are going to do that on Saturday. We're going to have a full-out blowout on Saturday on Raider Shield Family. We're going to do that. And that's going to be my coming back in party right there. I'm sick of it. I don't even want to hear it anymore.
Dude,
I'm
that's a
done
lot
with
of
Max stuff.
players Robert just mentioned.
I'm just
Max
done
Crosby, Justin Jefferson, Jalen Carter.
Oh, shut Jansen, stop. He's just pushing my button. See, that's a button pusher. That's what Jansen is. Now he's gonna sit there and talk. He's gonna sit there and he's gonna count how many times I tell him to go fuck himself. Sorry. Are we 10 minutes in? Yep, we are.
We are.
Okay, great.
I just looked up Terry and Arnold. He has he can potentially get life in prison.
I think his max level is 25 years.
I mean, it's just this. This is some quick Google. It's like the charges are highly severe and carry a potential sentence of up to life in prison. I was like,
up to,
up to, right? But, so it's probably not.
Henry Ruggs is supposed to have life in prison too. But anyway, but the thing about it is, everybody, Raider fans, the Raider Manifesto, think about that for a moment. So he is accused of kidnapping. That falls in the manifesto for Al Davis. We do not and will not take in or take back anyone that fails that manifesto. That is Raider Nation. We do not do that, regardless of their talent. It does not matter. So stop with the Terry and Arnold shit. I don't care what Schefter says. I don't care what any of them say. We bring that dude in there, it's going to be for, let's see if we can hold on to him for 5 years and get him for free. And maybe he'll take the ankle bracelet off because he goes to his arraignment, pays $1 million, and what he gets in return is a freaking ankle bracelet. Get the fuck out of here, bro. I don't want people like that. Any of you that do, you need to go ahead and turn your shield in. Do it now. I'm done with it. But other than that, I think everything we've done in this offseason has been fantastic. And I really don't have anything bad to say about anything. And I'll leave the rant at that. Me and Sacktown will get a little bit crazier on Saturday.
So
we just don't have the time yet.
Nav, do you have a surprising guy do you think that wouldn't make your 53? Or a surprising move you think your Raiders might make?
JPJ might get traded.
I mean, I've heard you guys mention him a few times, and that's an interesting take.
So what I'm hearing from people that I trust is the dude can't get over, like he has a mental block on himself and he can't go to work. He can't work hard, you know? So I watched The Rush today where Fernando Mendoza was in there talking about how badass Linderbaum was, how much of a freaking killer he was.
Right.
You know, you would have thought that if JPJ was that killer like that, he would have mentioned JPJ in that offensive line. Did not.
So what do you now as your Raiders rep? What do you think? Is it his injury?
I don't know. I don't know, and a lot of dudes. Actually, Raider Ron down there will be one of them that will tell you that that he has a firm belief that JPJ is a mental case. He does that.
Look, dude, maybe what the doctor, has ordered or prescribed is this whole new staff you guys brought in. Maybe look, Robert's comment with JPJ and Mayer need some mental help. Look who they've had to play under these last few years.
I'm with you, but we've been down this road. We've been down this road though before, so we literally lost a Super Bowl because of our center that lost his shit day before the Super Bowl. His name's Bear Roberts.
That's a hilarious story too, by the way, if anybody doesn't know it.
We all have a thought process of when players just kind of lose their
Hey, didn't he celebrate Tijuana or something, Nav?
What's that?
Didn't he go to Tijuana to celebrate?
I don't know where he went. Miami. I don't know. He just wasn't at the Super Bowl.
Wait, I thought this was the 2002 Super Bowl. Is this?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was Barry Robbins.
So I think that he went to. This is what I know. If anybody in the chat wants to correct me, rock and roll. I think he went to TJ and partied the day before, the night before, celebrating the Super Bowl before it even happened.
Right.
Like celebrating as they won. And then,
right.
So there's definitely something going on between the ears up there.
Yeah. I mean, that dude should be like freaking in the gym before going to bed. Just get yourself freaking a little bit pumped and then freaking crash. But he's out there doing what he's doing. But Barry Robbins was probably one of the best centers in the NFL that year. No question. And you can imagine how terrible that was not to have him in the lineup going into that ball
so
game.
did he miss the game or did he just show up all jacked up? I think he missed the game.
I don't think he even showed up. I think he freaking said, "Hey, I'm not making it." You guys, tell me if I'm wrong.
Dude, there's his brother's incognito.
dude just wasn't. Well, at least incognito, he was crazier and shit, but he knew how to show up to a football game.
Right.
Yeah. You know what I mean? But he was in TJ.
You want a few of those guys that chew on crayons, right? Right now, you want a few of those guys on your team that chew on crayons. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like they're not all there, but they're a little wonky. Want a few of those.
You just need dudes that are going to show up for the football game.
Well, that's true.
No, and Hellraider said that crazy. He didn't even show up for the ball game.
See, that's fucking.
So they had to drop a freaking center in there. Was it Wisniewski that had to drop over there? Was it Wisniewski Jr. Hellraider that had to move over to center like game day?
Not many teams are equipped like the Broncos are to just throw in. You have another center. You can just here you go. You're going to play center tonight, and biggest game.
I mean, it was definitely not a thing. But when you get on,
I have the information on your guy here.
So Hellraider says licks windows and chases butterflies. Yeah, I'm with you.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So he disappeared from the team hotel.
That's right. It was Adam True. Yep.
He disappeared from the team hotel the day before the Super Bowl game in January 2003. Robbins, who had not taken his depression medication, suffered from a severe manic episode and spent the day drinking in San Diego and in Tijuana, New Mexico. So I guess he traveled, between the two at some time. He was so disorientated that he reportedly believed the game had already been won and that he was celebrating the victory.
Dude, if somebody checks us out, and if he was in Hong Kong and TJ, if you know, you know.
No, not Hong Kong, but TJ, no question.
No. The
No,
establishment,
hey,
Hong Kong
can you-
and TJ.
Can you highlight this this one comment from Robert Jansen, please? We lost Super Bowl because Gruden knew our playbook on D and offense, and we didn't prepare for that. Well, agreed. I do agree. Because this dude couldn't change the offense. He had to go with what he already had. But the thing about it is, you have your center there, then it changes things. You know what I mean? You can make some adjustments. It was Bill Callahan, actually, that and he was a defensive coordinator of that, took over when Gruden freaking got traded to the Bucks, right? So, yeah, it was all a big shit show. It's how Raiders lose in dramatic fashion by all kinds of drama. But the thing about it is, you lose your Pro Bowl center like the day of the Super Bowl. You can't you can't adjust for that.
Dude, fun fact about that game, that Super Bowl. I was on the Coast Guard base right across from Lindbergh for that game, and they were supposedly having the world's biggest fireworks show for that Super Bowl, the Bucks Raiders in 02 or 03, whenever that Super Bowl was. And I got to watch the fireworks show from where they were launching it off the barge and stuff. It was epic. Freaking
Guess where I was? Guess where I was?
On a ship, probably somewhere.
Yeah, getting ready to go blow up Iraq in 03.
Yeah, okay.
On Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln, and my skipper on my squadron was a Bucks fan. And when that game ended, he ran all the way across from the back of the ship to the front of the ship just to take his flight suit, pop it open, and show the Buck stuff to me in my shop. Yeah. They literally turned the ship around and backed it up because the rotating gear didn't work correctly. So we were actually rolling backwards to keep the satellite to get a good Super Bowl picture on that.
Really?
Yes.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
And honestly, I'm not gonna lie, and I bet you no one even got in trouble for it too, because it's such like such the American pastime, right? Like it's it's the Super Bowl. Of course you're gonna do that. Okay, now move on. Make up the time somehow.
You know what happens on an aircraft carrier in the U.S. Navy when it's time to not do anything else? Everybody's going to go to their quarters, hang out, and watch something on TV or whatever. There's a pirate flag that goes up. It's pretty much do not fuck with us, because we are ready. We're just not here right now. We're just not ready. You know what I mean? So,
I'm a fan. Now, one last thing on this topic, Nav, and then we'll move on to my Broncos. The one thing I am reading on your center, Barrett Robbins, there, is that to your point, actually, there has been at least some rumors and or confirmed rumors or whatever that they believe that one of the things that might have set him off was the fact that your coaching staff completely tried to change the playbook because of Gruden on the other side.
Yes.
And there is some speculation. I'm not saying it's confirmed or not. I'm simply saying it's what's out there that is at least a solid talking point and discussion point on the thing, is that because there was such a dramatic change in the playbook that they're speculating. Again, the center, as we've talked multiple times on the show, is basically the quarterback of the second quarterback on the field, right, for the offense.
Sure.
And there was some speculation that the dramatic change in how they were going to play that game sent them over the edge. Now, whether or not that's accurate or not, look, I'm not here to pass judgment. I'm just simply saying that that's definitely a thing.
But if you think about that for a second, if the connection between the quarterback and the center is correct,
yeah,
right, Rich Gannon, which Rich Gannon's highly respected all over the NFL, not just the Raiders. You know what I mean? The Vikings, everywhere he's been, he's highly respected. The thing about it is, Rich Gannon, you would have thought would have had total control over that center exchange. Like, hey, don't worry about it. We'll just check it if we need to check it. We'll see it. But then you pop a Adam True in at center, and it's like, oh shit, we haven't even freaking had a snap together since training camp this year.
Right.
So,
exactly.
You know what I mean? So
yeah,
you would think if all that was true. If all that was true, you would think an all-pro quarterback would have a little bit of control over that center, wouldn't you?
A little bit, but if you got a guy that's not necessarily stable and has a certain flow in which they have to absorb information and that sort of thing, you can often end up where the guy spins out or loses it or does whatever. Sure. So, I mean, it's not uncommon. I'm not saying it's common, but it's certainly not so uncommon that you're sitting there saying, I've never heard of something like that before, right?
Right.
So,
uncommon when you're the best team in the NFL, no question, and you're rolling into Super Bowl.
Yes. It is certainly rare air when you're at that level, but it is not unheard of when you're talking about that kind of pressure, et cetera, right? So it is what it is. So I have an interesting one for my Denver Broncos. I got a few doozies actually on my list here, DZ, as we were going into the topic. Doozies, yeah. It's one of my favorite slang terms in the English language, doozy. So I'm going to start off with a bit of a combo platter for me. Everyone knows that I'm a huge fan of UDFAs. My Broncos have basically killed it in that camp for ever, I guess, ever, I suppose. So I had a really interesting discussion and talk where I was kind of going through a bunch of really deep dives in the roster and stuff. So my first prediction here is going to be that the Broncos are going to keep a total of 1, 2, 3, 4 inside linebackers total, but they're going to keep an abnormal number of outside linebackers, and one of the outside linebackers that they're going to keep is undrafted free agent or college free agent, however you want to word it, Dasan McCullough. And the reason why I'm mentioning the inside backer compared to the outside backer and why I'm tying this together is I believe that Drew Sanders is going to be cut. I believe that Jordan Turner is going to be cut. I believe that Torian York, who's a fan favorite of the Broncos and Broncos country, is not going to make the roster. And I believe that we're going to be trying to fit the right players in the right spot by looking at player versatility. Now, the reason why this is important and the reason why I'm putting that out there is kind of a surprise cut that people are not expecting, or a surprise keep, I guess, in this case, that Broncos country is not expecting, is there are 2 players on the Broncos roster right now that are on the bubble that may or may not make it. One of them is obviously Dasan McCullough. He's a college free agent or UDFA. They're always kind of in the back end of the roster that need to work their way up onto the team. It is what it is. Just deal with it, right? Same thing with Torian York, by the way, if we're going to, be totally honest, right? Now, the other guy that I think is really important to make note of on the Broncos roster is Drew Sanders. Drew Sanders has been perpetually hurt. DZ, I promise this will be my last jab at the Chargers, at least for the next 5 minutes or so. He is perpetually hurt, just like a Charger always is. He has literally had a problem staying healthy and staying on the field. He has played, if you actually look up his player history in terms of how often he's been available, even Chargers fans would be like, I don't care how good he is, just make him go away. Like he's been that bad in terms of his injury history. And so what makes a bottom end of the roster guy so important is positional versatility, as well as being able to do multiple things and stack them and do them well enough to make the roster. So number one at the back end of the roster is going to be special teams ability. Can you play special teams, yes or no? Deshaun McCullough can do that. Drew Sanders has tried, struggled to stay on the field. So what's the point? So that's number one. Number two, Deshaun McCullough, most people don't realize this. The majority of his college career was as an inside linebacker, not as an outside linebacker or as an edge rusher. And so he's got this combo ability of going inside outside. So I believe the Denver Broncos are going to carry a slightly higher number of outside linebackers on their roster just because it's such a valuable position, like the edge rush and pass rush position. But they're going to be looking at the guys on that back end of that roster or the back end of that room. And they're going to be looking for guys that can also cover off the inside linebacker position so that they can get guys that can cover. Again, this is coverage ability, cover guys like tight ends, etc. And what makes Deshaun McCullough so unique is he's 6'4", which puts him at a height that makes covering tight ends and whatnot in the league much easier, right? Like your wingspan is then closer matched to that of a tight end. So my first out of our three that we're going to discuss on the show is kind of a bit of a twofer, where I believe the Broncos will carry 4 inside linebackers, only 4. And I believe that we are going to keep, as an UDFA signing on our roster, I think you're going to see it in preseason and stuff, is going to be Deshaun McCullough. Will end up making the 53-man roster because of his versatility, which is substantial. So that's going to be my first surprise cut, because that basically means that Jordan Turner doesn't make the roster. That basically means that Lavelle Bailey doesn't make the roster. That means that unless some other changes are made, that Corinne Reed may not even make the roster, because we're going to only keep 4. And I suppose if I'm going to throw in just another kind of like footnote at the bottom, I believe Red Murdoch, Mr. Irrelevant from the 2026 NFL draft or 2025 draft, however you want to refer to it, I have him making the roster because I think you're going to see him in preseason. And he's just going to stand out so much because of his takeaway. He's got the ability to knock the ball out of the guy's hands and stuff. That's kind of what he was known for in college, was punching the ball out. I think that he's just making this roster, and it's a lot. So those are that's like my first banner prediction, is that the inside linebacker spot is that we're going to only carry 4, but then our swing guy is going to be an undrafted free agent.
Even if you guys did cut Drew Sanders, it's not like he wouldn't be immediately picked up.
He'll be picked up, but he'll end up literally on IR like shortly thereafter. Like he literally is one of those guys that, like, I'm not even trying to knock on him. Like I actually think he seems like a genuinely nice dude, honestly and truly. But there's honest to goodness just certain dudes that are built for football, but their bodies are just saying no. Like, you know, we all know, like, we've had a guy on our team for sure that we can think of just like that you're like, the dude's an athletic freak, but he just can't stay on the field. Right?
Got a few of those. Yeah.
And so it is what it is. And frankly, most teams, by the way, on a sliding scale, if you're on the upper tier of talent, like J.K. Dobbins, I think is a good example of a guy like that, where when healthy, he's like a top 5, top 3 running back in the NFL. You're willing to grant him that grace on your team to say, we're going to keep you because you're basically too good to not have on our team, right? However, you have other dudes that are kind of in that middling part of the roster or even the bottom end of that roster. You are not willing to give them that latitude to be hurt and not be available for you.
Yeah, man. Somebody.
So that's my first kind of bold prediction or kind of roster moves. It's kind of like a 3-person ebb and flow, as it were, for my Broncos roster, but it's a combination of what I think is going to happen at the linebacker position.
Good deal, man. Well, we'll see how that pans out, right?
Yeah.
Hey, there was a good question from G-Fam up here.
There was. I was
8:17 p.m.
You're making me scroll. What the hell?
Yeah, you should. It's all Raider fans, just so you guys know.
No, I know. This is a good question, man. First off, thank you for joining the show. Let's just start off there as a baseline. Love having you here. Yeah, I mean, I think this is a totally fair question. So let's look at it from an overall kind of broader picture. Number one, Sean Payton already had him call plays in preseason last season. So Sean Payton already knew he was dealing with a gifted coach. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, I do think Sean Payton, despite what a lot of the national media likes to try to, they'll slam him, but then they won't address the actual issue of what they're trying to get at, is Sean Payton ends up with great results at the end of the day. Like, he's got a great winning percentage and all that kind of stuff because he truly understands the game of football. But the one thing that you saw from my Denver Broncos last season was it took us right to the end of the game to allow the chess match to come out and win and end up in our favor, right? And there's only so many chess matches that you can win at the 11th hour as a buzzer beater. Eventually, that luck will run out and you're not going to be able to come out with a W. You're going to end up losing more of those than you were going to win. And I think that Sean Payton and the team are looking at a young Davis Webb as a gifted play caller, someone that they have seen enough from in the last year or two, and they are wanting to infuse a little bit of vigor into the Denver Broncos offense. And I believe that that's how they see this playing out. Sean Payton, by the way, and obviously as a Raiders fan, you're probably, although I don't want to assume, but you're likely not reading and watching all of the pressers from like my head coach and all the different coaching staff and all that kind of stuff.
You'd be surprised.
Well, again, I'm my opinion, but I'm just going to make that assumption and say that they're probably not. And one thing that Sean Payton said in the mid part of the offseason just after the draft was that he is still going to be heavily involved in the game planning and the offensive game planning and all of the kind of the chess pieces, as it were, in terms of making sure that the moves are laid out ahead of the game. But what's going to change is that Davis Webb is going to be the one calling the moves during the game. So Sean Payton's not gone. He's just not going to be the guy making all of the plays all of the time. And honestly, as a Broncos fan, given how my run game went stagnant last year and all that sort of stuff, I kind of welcome a little bit of a mix-up, I guess, in terms of the offensive play calling, especially given the fact that we have one of the most gifted play callers in Sean Payton as a backstop, right? Like, most teams don't get the benefit of saying, hey, I'm going to have a really good up-and-coming offensive coordinator that we think can do really well, but we're going to have like one of the best play callers in like NFL history or some variation thereof as like a backup plan. Like, that doesn't happen ever. And so
I suspect my input to that would be there's a reason why Sean Payton didn't let him go anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a reason why Sean Payton said take anybody but this guy.
Yes.
You know, so I mean, look, I get it. The thing about it is, I guess the question would be, if it's not going so well, how long will it take before Sean Payton goes, you know what? It didn't work.
I do think that Sean Payton, and by the way, this is one thing that he is known for, is he'll give you basically 2 strikes. He doesn't allow the 3rd strike to happen. So he's the pull the hook early rather than pull the hook late kind of guy.
Yeah.
When it comes to this sort of thing. But I honestly, like, if you looked, I don't expect Raiders fans to pay attention to the stats as an example. If you look at the second and first preseason game for the Broncos that Davis Webb was the primary play caller, the Broncos put up an obscene amount of offensive yardage in those games. And Sean was not the primary play caller. He was the secondary backstop. So Broncos country has kind of already seen some variation of what we expect to see this and how it's going to play out. The question is, how many more changes are going to be implemented as a result of Davis Webb's influence? Because Davis Webb was simply calling the plays based on Sean Payton's playbook. We've now had an entire offseason for Davis Webb to start implementing some of his own plays and his own concepts in intermixing and blending that into Sean Payton's playbook. So it's going to be very interesting.
Damn, G-Fam just asked another great question. Because I'll tell you what, that right there, if J.K. Dobbins is fully healthy an entire season, that's going to change. That's a game changer. That really is.
My answer to that is last season, it was incredibly important. And as a result,
yes, it was.
And as a result, it did not end well for my team. Okay.
Right.
So, like, let's just lay that out on the table and call a duck a duck, right? Now, the one guy that I was, like, from a conceptual perspective, I think this is a fair comment for me to make. Jonah Coleman was not my number one guy. Everyone kind of knows what I was looking for in a running back for my team. I have not been shy on that. I've been very public, and I will own my own statements in terms of what I was pushing for as a Broncos fan. That being said, Jonah Coleman, when I dug into him deeper and looked into what his skill set is probably exactly what the Broncos needed. Because he is a seasoned college guy who's got the pass pro ability that is very rare at the college level, which allows him to be a bona fide 3-down running back coming right out of college. And because of that, and because J.K. Dobbins has got we'll just call it an injury history, but when he is good and he is healthy, he's in that upper tier of running backs 100%, like number one, basically number 1 through 5.
JK seems to fit the Sean Payton system really well.
Yeah, 100%. Now, my comment here, God family here, is simple. I believe.
Just call him G-Fam.
G-Fam. Okay. So G-Fam, here's the deal. J.K. Dobbins will be the primary back for the Broncos. And then J.K., in my opinion, will be brought off to rest for certain games. And Jonah Coleman will be brought in to spell him. Like, basically, those two are going to be interchangeable RB1s to try to make sure that we end up with a healthy running back room. And then RJ Harvey is basically locked in as RB2. He's the change of pace, kind of like Alvin Kamara, catching balls out of the backfield, et cetera, et cetera. So we needed the secondary running back that could kind of be like the 1A and B for J.K. Dobbins. And Jonah Coleman, in my opinion, is that guy. And I think that that's what we're going to see from him. And then the other thing that a lot of folks don't realize, you guys can check me on this, and I'm happy to be proven wrong, but I don't think I am. His last year in college, I'm almost positive that Jonah Coleman had something like 31 receptions at the college level. So it's not like we're sitting here saying, hey guys, he can't catch the ball. At the college level, given the spread style of offense that we're seeing at the college level and all that sort of stuff, that is a crazy amount of catching the ball for a running back.
GFAM's just like the question.
Great question. Can you put that up there for DZ, please?
He asked me one. He asked me another
good
one. He asked me another one earlier, like about the Super Bowl and who I'd want to play if we got into it. Like, look, first of all, like Chargers fans need to sacrifice a goat on holy ground somewhere to break the curse. But no, we need. I mean, to get your team in the Super Bowl, you need a lot of things to go right, man. You need
you do
good defense, good offense.
That
you
was
need all
probably
your best players.
Best team you've had in a decade.
Which
was
one?
Last year. Best team you had in a decade was last year until everybody started getting hurt on an offensive line. I mean,
I'm just trying to think like a decade. I'm like, yeah, probably in a decade. But I was like, I'm like, damn, why am I thinking of a decade as like 20 years? Because I was like just going back to like the 06 team. Anyways, but he was asking who I would want to play, and I would want a rematch against the Niners. And just because I remember as a little boy watching that Super Bowl crisscross applesauce, just going son of a biscuit.
Oh my God.
But the record wasn't
that bomb, but I didn't.
He says the record wasn't bad, but the O-line, how far do you honestly the postseason of O-line? So, I mean, look, if you can protect your quarterback and you could have a run game in the playoffs, it's the two most important things, you know what I mean? Like, instead, we had the most hodgepodge, like, O-line. Oh, God, I'm so glad some of these guys are gone. But like I was just thinking, okay, last year was I keep going back to the Houston game, but last year was the Patriots, and they just started teeing off. They ran like a Belichick style of defense, obviously with Homeboy as their head coach, where they just took away your best player, and Herbert had nobody to go to, and they just sent the house, and that's what Houston did. They're like, oh, these guys can't block, so they just kept sending the house at them. And if you could block and have a run game to keep defenses honest, I mean, I don't think we had a Myron Hampton last year going to that game. It was Kamani Vidal. So, yeah, I mean, it's just, dude, you got to have your best players when you freaking need them.
Look, you got to
both playoffs.
Vidal killed it.
You know, he's fantastic. He's fantastic, and it kind of sucks, Nav. A lot of fans and beat reporters are treating him like an afterthought because they've also brought in Keaton Mitchell, and Keaton Mitchell with his speed, his problem is he's never been healthy. But that guy, I think they got him clocked running like 20 some odd freaking miles an hour. Like just he's fast. I think he's probably the fastest running back. Maybe Achan is up there.
That's competition.
Yeah. So it's like. I'm like, don't sleep on Vidal. Like he's earned his right to be there. He carried this team when Hampton went down and whatever, and played against a historically trash offensive line. So, anyways, go back real quick. Both playoff games, the opponents we played against, Houston and then New England, they were at the healthiest that team had been in weeks, and we were the complete opposite side of that spectrum. Come in limping into that game. That's why Jim rested all our starters against the Broncos the week prior, like try to get some sort of health, and it didn't work. I mean, they fired Greg Roman.
We also have to agree that the Patriots had the easiest schedule ever seen in the NFL.
Yeah, and their fans seem to think they're going back to the Super Bowl this year.
And they still won every single game by a single score.
Right.
Look,
they got AJ Brown, good for them, and they're going to be probably better, but like I don't see them going back.
Drake May is not. I don't think Drake May is all that, and I don't think Bo Nix is all that either. So just saying.
Bo Nix is a much steadier force, and frankly, if you look at his statistics in terms of what he's done, he is pretty solid actually. But I do agree. I think that there are some we'll call it fluttering moments, I think, where he kind of flatlines in certain games. But this is the difference. We're going to know what Bo Nix is when you have a different play caller that calls plays differently and in a different rhythm. And if you start seeing Bo Nix kind of pop off or go off in terms of the way that he plays, then you're going to know that the play caller kind of put some training wheels on the play that may have like negatively impacted Bo Nix's ability on the field. Whereas Nav, I will agree with you. If you see the same, we'll call them challenges or quirks on the field where he kind of like peters off in games or like levels off in games and stuff, then I will completely agree with your statement. Now, before we go off to your number two in terms of three options there, DZ, I just want to cover off this comment because I kind of see this as a bit of a yin and a yang. So the Chargers had a major problem on their offensive line, and they also had running backs that were hurt. So they kind of had a bit of a combined factor there of the major players on their team just not being available.
Same with the Raiders with Genty kind of thing, like healthy Genty, bad O-line, like kind of thing.
Now, Martin, my comment back here is the Broncos had RJ Harvey, who basically had the Javonte Williams syndrome. And I'm curious if you're going to pick up on where I'm going with this as a Broncos fan, which, by the way, thank you for joining the show. Appreciate you being here. Which was Javonte Williams when he first came into the league kind of did what Baker Mayfield did, was he kind of thought that he was the most athletic guy on the field because he's basically probably always been that no matter what, level of football that he's played in. And then he came into the NFL and realized that he was nowhere close. And I mean, there's a lot of guys that come from college programs and all that kind of stuff that have.
DZ, is that me or is that Richie?
I think it's Richie.
Am I lying?
It was a little glitchy.
Okay. So the long and the short of it is that a lot of the players that come from college. Okay. A lot of the players that come from college think that they are the most athletic guy in the field because they've always been so. Whereas when you come into the NFL, you're no longer the most athletic guy in the field. There's almost always going to be somebody else that's more athletic or faster or quicker or can do things that you can't. And Baker Mayfield found that out right quick. Javonte Williams on the Broncos found that out right quick. And I actually think that the major problem or the major quirk here is RJ Harvey struggled greatly coming into the NFL because he is always used to being the fastest guy in the field. He can outrun everyone. He can just run it to the outside, and he's totally cool. He came to the NFL and realized very, very quickly that running it to the outside is not going to be an option for him all the time, and he needs to learn to leverage his burst, kind of like what Jaleel McLaughlin does for the Broncos. He needs to use his burst to jump through the hole that is made by the offensive line and then kind of like jump around and skip around to get those extra yards. So I don't think that it is as important anymore for the Broncos to have a healthy JK for two reasons. Number one, we have Jonah Coleman who can step in to get those harder yardages that J.K. Dobbins was able to get. I think Coleman can also assist us in that regard this year. Number two, I believe that Waddle and the addition of Waddle on the team opens up a completely different style of playbook.
Yeah,
he is going to be able to juke guys in the.
I don't think a different style, Richie. I think they're going to have a set group of plays that just like a whole different section of plays.
Sure. Yeah.
I think it's going to be a similar style, but it's going to be like they got a little candied with a little cherry on top.
Yeah. So I just actually think that this is what we're going to end up seeing for the Denver Broncos. So long and the short of it is you have different players on the team now that better complement the offense, in my opinion. And adding on to that, you have Davis Webb, who's going to add additional plays that will add additional elements to the offense that's going to keep teams guessing. So I think overall last year, 100% correct. I'm right there with you. I believe that this year you're going to see a slightly different offensive look and feel, which will probably have different things that we're going to be focusing on as Broncos country in terms of why did that not work, et cetera, et cetera. But I think some of the challenges that we had last season, I don't believe we're going to see this year. But again, I've been wrong before and I'll be wrong again. So we'll wait and see what happens. So DZ, over to you for your number 2.
2 is going to be short. When the Harbaugh regime came to LA, they kind of had that like Baltimore West, Ravens West-esque kind of thing. And they wanted to run that power, that power stuff that Greg Roman brought over. And we didn't have a fullback at the time. And they turned Scott Matlock, who was drafted out of Boise State as a D lineman. They turned him into a fullback, 6'4", 300 pounds. And towards the end of the last season started working. It was like, all right, okay, I can see this going on. I've talked about him from time to time on the show. Scott's talked about like how he wants to not be on the offensive side anymore. He wants to go straight, just be a defensive lineman. And then he changes his mind, says he's going to focus everything on the offense. But, when they hired Mike McDaniel to take over as OC, he brought over, Raiders know him really well, Alec Ingold. And Alec Ingold is a real fullback, obviously not that same size. I think he's 6'1", 232 pounds, but, Ingold knows the system. And usually fullbacks kind of like
getting all choppy.
Yeah, a little bit. Usually fullbacks, hang on, let's see what's going on. Okay. Dude, yeah, what's going on here? Comments? All right, never mind. They kind of
getting all choppy.
Yeah, it was for me for a second too. Usually fullbacks, when your 53 is constructed, they usually fall into the tight end room or running back room, kind of like pick or choose. And the way I see him making, I don't see him making the 53 with Alec Ingold there. You know what I mean? Like they also, with our offensive line, D-line, we have much better D-linemen. He would be like a rotational guy at best, maybe getting like 50 snaps a season or something on the defensive side. Especially with the addition of Nick Barrett that they drafted, a guy that I have not talked about much, but a lot of people really seem to like. So I kind of think that he doesn't make the 53, but I don't think he gets poached. I think he kind of rides the practice squad and is break glass in case of emergency kind of thing. But, yeah, I really had high hopes for him. I guess he was a fun character at Boise State. He's like this big, giant white boy, ginger, saying he wanted to take everybody's souls or something. He's not the best D lineman, and he's not the best fullback. What's going on?
Choppy.
So, yeah, that's just my second one for now. Also, did you guys see NFL came out with their analysts of every team for, like, their predictions, like their over-unders and stuff, like wins, and it's kind of – they did it for every team. I've only saw mine. I don't know if anybody in the chat, you guys watch the Raiders or watch the Broncos. I always think they do a really good job, but then they have like the beat reporters or the analysts give their like prediction of their wins. Dude, 2 of them had the Chargers at 7-10, which really threw the fan base in a hissy fit. But understandably with that schedule, some had 12-5. I don't know if you guys saw yours.
Yeah, I did.
Nav, did you see yours? I don't know when they put it out. I don't know if they put it out like a week ago or a couple days ago.
See my what?
The NFL Network, like on YouTube, put out every team's like predictions going into the season.
Yeah, and it actually irritated me a little bit.
Okay.
The reason why is because I don't want any stupid predictions on the Raiders.
I got you.
And so, Raider Nation, I just need you guys to know, and I've said this from the jump, we are not going to a Super Bowl, so we don't need to do anything stupid, bring bad character into the building. We've done a very good job so far. So let's stop with the rhetoric of stupid shit. Okay? We need good people in the building. We have that. Stop trying to bring in freaking drama. You know what I mean? Don't let that shit, don't let the whole, I don't know why beat writers are playing this game. It's the beat writers that are doing this shit.
There's nothing to talk
which
about
are the
right
ones
now.
in the building.
They like to stir
You know,
the pot. Stir that pot.
There's nothing to talk about. Why are you doing that? Terry and Arnold, this dude is literally wearing a freaking ankle bracelet that he paid $1 million for. Why are we even talking about this guy? He has an ankle bracelet on because he had to pay $1 million to not be in jail, to wear an ankle bracelet under house arrest. Get the hell out of here. I don't even want to hear about this dude. We don't operate in that fashion anymore. So, all right. So, is it me that's choppy or you guys that was choppy?
I don't know. I'm reading somebody's comments in the chat and kind of depressed now.
Yeah, Crash Dow's like, you never know with the NFL. Hey, can I throw one thing out there, though? LA Crash Dog, he says, hashtag Sable Warrior. Say, look, he's a fellow veteran like me, and he's an advocate of sablewarrior.com. So if you really want to help first responders, retired or veteran military, sablewarrior.com is how to do it for free. You throw the money in there and every damn dime goes to them. There's no admin fees or none of that crap. I don't care if it's $1. It's free. sablewarrior.com, that's how you do it. Oh, I'm sorry, .org. .org. Yeah. Sorry, Gunny. My bad, brother. I was trying to advocate, man. I just fucked it up. My bad. But, yeah, sablewarrior.org. That's how you do it right there. You don't send that shit to, Wounded Warrior was great at one point in time, and if that's the way you do it, do it. And that's great. There's just a lot of admin stuff that goes into all that.
Well, the problem is that
it goes straight to the people that are doing.
Yeah, the challenge you run into now with some of these organizations is they get so big that they end up bloating the organization to try to accommodate and facilitate kind of some of the, we'll call it the PR side of things, and it does hinder their ability to then serve the community that they're actually trying to serve. So I love these kind of smaller, intentional organizations, that are saying, no, we're not going to put ourselves out there. We're not going to try to be like a lobbyist group or put like TV ads or whatever the case may be.
Doesn't Gary Sinise run one of these organizations? That actor? I heard his are like super good. Anybody?
Yeah, well, he's trying to do is he's trying to float the admin fees from his own personal donations, if I'm not mistaken. Where he's trying to cover the admin component of it so that the donations all go to the people, and his charitable donations are intentionally trying to cover off the administration and salary of the folks that are working for the organization. Which again is a very admirable approach to charity, right? Because he's trying to eliminate that kind of top
Lieutenant
level
Dan.
of fat. Yeah.
You ain't got no legs,
Yeah.
Lieutenant Dan.
So Crash Dog's a 30-year retired Marine Corps veteran. I'm a 25-year Navy retired veteran. All we're looking for is just people to stop trying to put their hands in our pockets when it comes to our own people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's and Crash
Ardell,
Dog's
does he
found
run
that.
his Ardell, does he
He's
run
found
his
that
own?
and he advocates it, and I advocate it behind it.
Does Sinise run his own foundation, or does he work for somebody, or is he just like, we just know that he's he just cares about people and he's just really proactive when it comes to vets?
No, he just advocates for
Sinise
them.
Foundation.
I don't know
Gary
if he.
Sinise Foundation.
Honestly, I've never even asked Gunny if he actually worked for them directly, but I don't think he does either.
Okay.
He just advocates for them.
He's got a foundation, right? And so a foundation will take in a tremendous amount of assets in terms of money. They'll often they'll invest it, but because they're not for profit, they don't pay the taxes on that investment, and then they push those investments out to the various charities that are doing the work appropriately for the veterans a lot of the time.
The reason I say that because every Christmas we donate money to a veteran foundation in the name of my wife's mother-in-law, grandmother. So for her, we'll make a donation for her, so she gets all the credit. But
SaveAWarrior.org, man, I literally looked into them after the last show.
Yeah, so that might be a new one we'll do.
Yeah,
must have been having some issues.
Yeah, he's having some tech issues, I think.
So there's a question if you want to go over real quick. If I think that, where did it go? Said something about Kirk Cousins or whatever. Honestly, I think Kirk Cousins starts until he can't, essentially. I think they want Fernando to sit as long as possible, knowing that there's no rush, that they want him to learn from probably Kirk. And Kirk's probably going to, who knows, he could probably play the majority of the season. And I don't know.
Well, for me, my question is this, is I think you have to start with Kirk Cousins unless your first-round draft pick is just blowing the doors off in preseason. It's basically detrimental to not play him, right? Like you're going to have ebbs and flows. Like, for example, I still believe that even though the Broncos in Bo Nix's rookie season did pretty well, I still think we probably would have seen better results from Bo Nix if he had actually sat a little bit and allowed the veterans to play more and got a little bit of a better ebb and flow to the game. Because he did struggle in certain elements, and Nav, I think you kind of touched on that in your hints on Bo Nix, as it were. So I don't necessarily disagree with some of your comments, even though it's unpopular to make those in Broncos country. But it is what it is. But for me, my gut reaction here would be play Kirk Cousins. So long as your rookie quarterback is still showing that he has a little bit to learn. And if you have Kirk Cousins struggling for, say, 2 games in a row, you don't allow it to get to the third. You pull him and you get your rookie in there, and you got to see what he's got. I think that's my general approach there, which is he's your quarterback of the future, and you gotta give him a little bit of time to learn the ropes as best as he can. But at the same time, you can't be overly cautious, because if you are, it'll probably be detrimental for his growth. In today's NFL, it's all about sharpening the tool set as early as possible and allowing him to stay on the field. My mic is low. That's me. Most people tell me to shut up.
No, it's not. You're plenty loud.
Yeah, I was gonna say most people tell me to shut up. So, yeah, so that's where I'm at. So, DZ, you're number 2. Just want to repeat that quick so we have that on record, and then we'll move on to Nav, and then I'll go.
Just I don't think Scott Matlock. I think the addition of Alec Ingold kind of paves the way for fullback, right? You don't need to carry multiple fullbacks. Now, Scott does have versatility and special teams, and he's a defensive lineman as well. So that could save his butt, but this is a whole new system, and who knows? Who knows what Mike wants? I don't know. We'll see. But yep, that's number 2. Nav, go to you, buddy.
Yeah. I mean, what's the question, to be honest with you? We were talking about a lot of things. So what is the ending question here?
Well, so what's a second move on your team that you think will surprise people, or what do you think is a move on your team that your team will potentially make that will upset the apple cart? Let's put it that way.
I think JPJ being moved is going to be the big one. I think that's going to happen. I can't see any other way on that. I really don't. And the other surprise move will be a DB, but not Terry Arnold. Might grab a DB out of that freaking joint somewhere just to throw more competition in. But to be honest with you, like I've told the entire Raider Nation, and I told them the entire year, Mendoza or not, we're not trying.
Technical difficulties for our brother Nav. Let's see if he pops back in here. So he first said JPJ.
Yeah, so his second one is JPJ being traded or cut, basically, is the long and the short of it.
Well, no, that's his first one.
It's interesting, actually, now.
I think he said his second one is...
No, that was his second.
Yeah, picking up a cornerback of some sort. Probably a free agent or bringing in somebody else. I don't know.
Yeah. So it's interesting, Nav brought up an offensive lineman, because my second one for my Broncos is maybe unsurprising to you, DZ. Your favorite Broncos offensive lineman?
Palcho,
baby. Palcho. It's all about the Palcho. That dude is like legitimately a kind of an offensive line freak. He's a UDFA. He's a guy that had no business being as good as he is. Like literally no business being as good as he is coming into the league.
Was he the sixth lineman coming into last year?
Yeah.
So he was your sixth guy?
But he's an undrafted free agent. He's a guy that came in and stepped in for McGlinchey the previous year and basically was like an upgrade in the run game, right, as an undrafted free agent.
Yeah.
Like it is unheard of for a tackle to be that good and be an undrafted free agent. Like it just does not happen ever.
I mean, so it's not like did he come into the league like having some injuries in college or anything like that?
No.
Yeah.
No,
yeah, so it's just rare.
It's rare. It's just rare air, right? Like,
and that's what's kind of like I mean, I know that the Raiders are moving to a whole new scheme, offensive side, right? Like when he was talking about JPJ, and it makes sense, and then at the same time it doesn't. Like I get, and Raider fans can clap back, but like you need athletic linemen, right, to run that, that wide zone kind of scheme that they're running. But JPJ, like O linemen don't grow on trees. The league needs O linemen. It's like there's two positions, and you guys can tell me what you think. Quarterback play and offensive line are in like desperate need in the league, in my opinion. I think like what's going on in the college ranks is like I looked at like the 10 top quarterbacks or whatever in college next year, and no offense to anybody, but they all look like trash. Like they're all like it's all potential, like this and that. These guys bounce around from school to school. So then you got to think like, oh, these are the guys that are coming into the league and that are going to be like superstars. Like, give me a break. And then offensive line, like you just don't like toss those guys. So JPJ, like for the Raiders, I could see like a potential trade. Like I could see a lot of teams taking a chance on that guy. Like he was fantastic. I just think he needs to be in his own scheme. And sure, maybe he does have some stuff going on, maybe up here or injury wise, but. Anyways, sorry, Richie.
I think he needs to be in a power scheme. I think he needs to be in a power scheme. I think that's
put him back at center somewhere. I don't know.
He needs to be a center and he needs to be in a power scheme, and that's it. Honestly, I think it's just that simple. And I think that he has attempted to be thrown into like an inside zone or an outside zone scheme, depending on who you're dealing with, and he's like, dude, like my skill set is I take guy, I throw guy.
I mean, wasn't I'm not 100, but I'm like he was like one of the top centers coming out when he got drafted.
100%.
Right?
He was number 1 or number 2 out of the draft.
And then you come to a team, and then essentially they're like, yeah, you're gonna play guard. I think this was last year or something with that debacle, but you're gonna play guard. You know what I mean? It's just like, dude, for him, he's got to be like WTF, like. I'm a center. I want to play center. I want to play, smash mouth ball kind of thing. So, I mean, maybe the Raiders get something for him because I can see a lot of teams saying centers aren't growing on trees. Yeah. We just saw that this whole offseason, right? Yeah. I mean, look at what Linderbaum got. I think he's making $27 a year. Holy crap.
Yep, 100%. So I kind of think that, so getting back to like Palcho and the Broncos and that kind of stuff and tying this kind of all together, is it's funny that he brought up JPJ. So I have on my bingo card this offseason the Broncos moving on from Ben Powers.
Ooh.
I think that there's going to be a team or 3 that are going to have a couple of compounding factors. One, I think a team's going to have a guard that's going to get hurt. 2, I think there's going to be a team or 3 that's going to have a left guard that they're not happy with. And I believe Ben Powers has shown that he is a very, very competent guard in the NFL, and he's shown that for my Denver Broncos. So that's my prediction is that Ben Powers, with the emergence and flexibility of a guy like Palcho, and I think this is also important, and with Cage Casey, Nick Gargiulo, and also our undrafted tackle, Tyler Miller, who's just an absolute animal. He's just a massive human being. The Broncos are looking for our tackles of the future, but then also looking to make sure that we solidify our roster for the long term so that we keep this churn of quality offensive linemen going. Like you mentioned this a bunch of times, and I could not agree with you more. Like, you're looking at it from the Chargers' perspective, right? Which is the Broncos have finally got their offensive line pipeline.
By the way, you guys, Warren Sharp has you guys projected as the number 1 offensive line this year as well.
Again, yeah. Well, I'm looking at my offensive line both in the UDFA category and our draft picks and also who we have on our roster. And I'm literally looking at Ben Powers as almost like an odd man out. Like, we save
what's his age? Do you know how old he is right now? Or
no,
off the top of your head, is he like
no, not off the top of my head. I don't know off the top of my head, but he's 29.
Okay, so he's still solid. He's still golden.
Like
Yeah.
he's not super old, but he's not super young either. But like the thing is like you have Palcho who's on the ascension, right? Like he is on that vertical curve upwards.
Yeah, but the thing is, here we go. How much are they paying Ben Powers right now? Like, right? Like, when is his contract? That's where you got to go in the money thing.
Well, next year. Next year is the answer to that question. So
Right.
you save the maximum amount of money by getting him gone next year, but
Yeah.
you save some money by getting rid of him this year. So
Okay.
the question that so here's the kicker, right? So here, I'm going to pose this question to both you and the chat, and I would love to get some responses. Leave those down below. Let's hear what you guys got to say. All right. You have a potential guy at a tackle position, which is arguably what? Number 1 through 3, 1 through 4 in terms of positional value at the NFL level, the offensive tackle spot. Like, I think we can generally agree that it's at least within the top 5 in terms of positional value, right? Offensive tackle, whether it be right or left tackle. Now, we have a guy in Matt Miller and another guy in Frank Crum on our roster that are both on the ascension in terms of developmental players for my Denver Broncos. Both at the tackle position, which are highly, highly valued spots, but you only have so many roster spots, right? Like you can't just keep like infinity number of players just because you want to. Now, if you have a guy in Ben Powers and you have a backup who stepped in, who is a absolute beast at the guard position and is also a competent right tackle, what would you rather keep? Would you rather save the money now and get developmental offensive tackles to keep that pipeline going so that you always have a tackle no matter what? Or would you rather keep a competent guard and potentially lose a future tackle to then hinder your team long term? For me, I would rather keep the positional value at the tackle when I know I have a guard in Palcho who is absolutely like plug and play at that spot instead of Ben Powers. Save the money and then bank that so that we're not going to be in cap hell when it comes to Bo Nix's extension, which I believe is going to be coming next year. I have to bet on it. So my gut reaction is Ben Powers will be the cap casualty. Ben Powers will be the guy that we move on from because we already know we have a competent guy to step in because we saw it for the majority of last year.
Gotcha. I was kind of looking at GFAM's question when you're going off of Ben. He's kind of mentioned he did a little offensive line thing with Trey Zune. I don't know much about him. I know that he's massive. I think he's 6'6". But a shot at he's going to take somebody's spot. They didn't draft him at 91st over. I think he was 91st overall. He's taking somebody's spot. But does this tie into what Nav was talking about with JPJ? Like this, you know what I mean? Like you want a guy who can be a backup center, right? So it's like, do they force JPJ as a guard, or do they just does this guy take guard spot? You know what I mean? Because I think Grant, they have a guy, I think is it Charles Grant or whatever, that could be right tackle. They got a couple guys that play tackle. I think this might be a guard and be a massive guard at that too. I think he's like 320, 6'6" or something.
So
he's gonna be
yeah. So the kicker here is the long and the short of it is this. With offensive linemen, you're looking at a combination of traits. And the Raiders right now, trust me, and this is not a knock on the Raiders whatsoever, because honestly, they've done an amazing job this offseason and in the draft. Like, right. I want to kind of level set what I'm kind of saying here. You don't really know what your offense is looking like and what it truly needs until the end of the season. You don't know who's going to fit. You don't know why they're not going to fit. Like, you just simply need to let this season play out to kind of gauge, I have a puzzle. What pieces am I currently missing based on what my organizational direction is.
Yeah.
Now, the Raiders, and I want to be very, very complimentary, but very, very clear at the same time, you finally have an organizational direction because you're seeing that from the combination of your head coach and your GM, right? You're kind of approaching things with a very specific purpose. You're trying to fill specific roles and do things very, very, you're playing chess, not checkers, basically. So you're not going out to just trying to find the fastest guy in the draft just to get the whiz bang. You're going out to try to find specific pieces to truly bolster your roster, and you can see that with the moves that the Raiders have made this offseason, which is why DZ, you and I have made multiple comments over the course of the show, which is like the Raiders are not the same team that they were just a couple of years ago.
No, this is why
they're just not.
I'm looking at Warren Sharp's ranking of offensive lines, and he's got the Raiders at 25, which I would have thought he would have had a little higher with the addition of Linderbaum. Maybe feels like they didn't do enough. I do like that Trey Zoom addition. I've looked into him a little bit. But they got the Chiefs at 23, which makes sense to me. I mean, Creed Humphrey, probably top 1, 2, 3 center in the league. But other than that, it's like, I mean, they got some good guys. But, yeah, I don't know. I like Warren Sharp, but, look, these are just predictions. So who the heck knows?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we don't know how certain guys are going to fit into these new coaches' schemes, right? And so, you saw a whole whack of teams that really overperformed based on where these original rankings were from these pundits, which is why I kind of prefer actually listening to some of the fanalists, like the ones that are actually objective as opposed to the pundits, because fanalists and stuff like that are going to be guys that truly want to try to dig into the actual details and want to be honest. And they're not being paid by someone to say something. They're kind of in it for themselves, and therefore they're trying to find something that's close enough to the truth as possible. And I'd much rather have someone that does that for me. With that in mind, I do want to bring up the fact that I will be having a channel that will be hosting the Wild Wild West going forward, called Tukes and Touchdowns. You may note in my name down there, I will be departing from the MHRT network. This is basically going to be our last show on the MHRT network, if I'm going to be honest. And so Tukes and Touchdowns will be the new channel. I will go ahead and post that as a banner for all of you to go ahead and subscribe and click that little notification bell, because that's where the Wild Wild West will be moving to, specifically on the Broncos side. And because the MHRT network originally had Captain Jack's channel, so for those of you that are on Captain Jack's channel, I'm going to ask respectfully that you swallow your pride a little bit, just a little, and go ahead and sub to the Tukes and Touchdowns channel there, because Captain Jack had authenticated his channel when he was the primary Raiders representative, and therefore, if you are watching us on Captain Jack's channel as a Raiders fan and you like the show, want to participate in the show, unfortunately, that stream will also fall off as a result. So you'll have to catch us on the Tukes and Touchdowns, or Tukes in Touchdowns with the letter N channel there on YouTube. And again, I'm going to throw that as a banner here for all of you here and post it in the chat so that you can all jump on over and give it a look-see and a sub. We will be posting our content there from now on. But enough of some somber news. We'll get into some of the more interesting stuff. DZ, we got 2 out of Nav before he.
Yeah, so I think the 2 for Nav would be JPJ and then a cornerback addition of some sort. And Raiders fans left in the chat, let us know what you think about that. Those were Nav's kind of like predictions for the 53. I don't know who's out there. Free agency. I did see a post of like the updated cap. Who's got cap. How much money and whatnot. So maybe I could see the Raiders bringing another vet to fill out the room. You need camp bodies like always, right? Is it rated or better than rated? I don't know, Robert.
I have a funny feeling that is Robert's way of saying that I have a Canadian accent, and the answer is yes, I do, because I'm from Canada, and that's just the way it works. So it is what it is.
I do have like a third spot position. We'll get into that if you want to do that.
Go ahead. Yep.
This one kind of hurts, but this is another thing that Charger fans are kind of familiar with. Is they drafted Junior Colson, middle linebacker from Michigan. He came over with Harbaugh and Minter. Cool. He came over with them, and I mean the dude's like, if you just look at his accolades. Young player. He's got a great story. He's a Haitian. He was adopted as a Haitian kid. Like, just outstanding college football player. And then came over, and I want to say his first year he dealt with like a bunch of injuries. What's new, right? Chargers. He had like an appendectomy, just some weird stuff going on happen. And like he had a really rough freshman year. And then we're like, all right, let's see what happens the following year. The following year, they shut him down right before the season kicks off. And it's like, look, dude, we can't wait around forever, right? Because there was another guy, Marlo Wax, I want to say we got a UDFA we got in 25. Now, he's not as big. Richie's going to go outside after this shoe, eh?
Look.
That's funny.
Look, Sacktown, I have tried so hard. Well, sorry, I can change my accent to modify how I pronounce the word out.
Yeah, I would hate to. Well, I wouldn't hate, but I would. It'd be funny to listen to Richie get with a bunch of Canadian men and drinking in the woods somewhere. It would be like, do we need a translator for this? It'd be
It's so actually it's funny. So I'm of Irish descent, although I'm like the biggest leprechaun you're going to meet. I certainly dwarf most of the other Irishmen out there. But I was at a restaurant today that was all Irish folk that were up Canadian way, and it really is funny how my family's British and Irish, so and like they're like there's actually like newcomers that have come over from within my family that have like the actual accent still, or at least did. And so because I grew up with that around me, I had a wee bit of an accent, as it were, every once in a while on certain words from the British side or the Irish side. And I was talking to a guy today, and he asked me how long I've been in Canada. And I was like, my whole life. and it's just because my family's Irish and British and have the accents, my tone will flip-flop depending on whom I'm speaking to and when, just because my family is kind of all over the map in terms of when we came here.
I picked up when I moved to Maryland, I picked up an accent. People were like, Maryland accent? Well, I did some commercial fishing out here, and I worked with some commercial guys. And
yeah,
you guys, if you just want, Google Waterman accent, and they have this distinct accent. There's actually like an island out here where it's been like unchanged since the British have been there. It's like they all speak in some certain dialect. It's a trip. Well, that's carried out throughout Maryland and these coastal. So I started picking up on certain words, like I would say boot, like just like weird, like they say some word, and it would come out. And I remember I went back to my buddy of mine wedding in California, and we started drinking, and some of these words start coming out. And they just like look, they're like, what the hell are you saying? Why are you saying words like this? And it was just because at that time I was working with these guys. But at the same sense, like I was a California kid, born and raised, and I was like, no, Californians don't have an accent. Now I start watching stuff from like California, and there is a distinct, maybe not an accent, but it's a distinct, like the way they talk. Like there's a lot of likes, like this and like that, and they pause, and the women are the worst. No offense, but California women, like holy crap, it's unbearable. Some of this valley kind of dialect stuff they got going on over there. But yeah, it's funny, man. Like a lot of you just travel, and everybody's got their own like distinct way they say stuff and how they talk, and yeah.
Yeah, I really pissed off my California cousin when I started flipping my accent off on purpose, because they were all like really, really interested in hearing how I spoke, because I do pronounce words differently. So, I'm going out and about to take out the garbage, right? Like just as an example, or I want a chocolate bar. So in Canada, a candy bar is a chocolate bar. Trash is garbage. All the different word variations that we have. And of course, in typical Canadian / British, we add a whole bunch of extra letters to words that do not exist in the American vernacular.
A lot of bro, like
dude,
bro,
like dude,
bro.
Yeah. All that kind of stuff.
And then there's like regions where I don't know if it's up there. Everybody says for like soda, they're like, "Oh, pop, let's go get a pop."
Well,
pop
is what we call it in Canada. Soda is what's often called in the U.S. But like I just know better when as soon as I cross the border, I just simply flip my words, right? Like,
well, then there's it's either, I think it's like three things in the States. It's a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm going to go get a Coke," and they say Coke for everything, or soda. I'm soda, or pop. I'm going to get a pop. And
so I say soda for almost everything when I'm in the States, because that seems to be the common through line across all states.
Yeah, Sacktown. Yeah, it's kind of slang. Garbage and trash. What do you say? Garbage and trash are different pickup days of the week.
So for here in Canada, at least, we call it garbage, but it has been pretty much hammered into me universally that trash is the word that is used in the U.S. for
and rubbish is a British thing, so I don't know if that's
correct. So 100%, and so just like little quirky things like that, right? Like it's fine. It is what it is. But for me, as Captain Jack used to always say when we were together on screen a lot, was Richie speaks the Queen's English, and I grew up actually very much in a choosing my words very carefully.
Yeah.
So, sorry, just give me 1 sec.
Yeah, man. No, yes, Sacktown. Yep, soda. I mean, well, supper instead of dinner. Yep, gonna have supper. Yeah, I like the southern accent, but I'll tell you one. I was in East Texas, and I talked to some guy. I don't know if it was like Cajun / like Texan. I couldn't understand. I could only pick up like 1 out of every 5 words this guy was saying to me, and I being legit. East Texas was a crazy place. Nacogdoches. I don't know if any of you guys have been there. Raise your hand. Y'all is like, I feel like it's everybody's now saying y'all. It used to be just like only a few people, like only certain parts of the country were saying y'all. Now I feel like everybody says y'all, which whatever, it is what it is. I think is what's his name really talking to? I think Slam is actually talking to Richie right now.
Shout out there to Big E and the other Broncos fans. I just got a quick call just to remind me of what a real accent sounds like from the southern U.S.
Where's he from? Did you say where he's from?
West Virginia, man. West Virginia.
West Virginia. Okay.
Yeah, West Virginia. So, fantastic accent. I've mimicked the West Virginia accent many a times. I've been told that I do a fairly decent impersonation, but I've also been there a bunch of times too. So,
there's a lot of guys that we lived by when we first moved to Maryland. They all went to WVU, and the stories that they say about that school, like, I wish I went to that school. It sounds like it was a blast.
Yeah. So, I'm gonna quickly just cover off my third one here for my team. So, I kind of did the inside linebacker / outside linebacker, switch up, which I think Broncos country is not necessarily prepared for. And my answer to that is I don't care. Number 2, I have Ben Powers, which is probably a surprise because he's been such a solid offensive lineman.
Right.
My gut reaction is Broncos brass will try to trade Powers. And I think he'll have a reasonable trade value given the fact that he's been a pretty good guard.
He's only 29 too, like you said, right?
He's 29, played well, been on a top offensive line, yada, yada, yada. So
yeah,
I think that he's going to be an asset that Broncos country can potentially pawn off, as it were, to save on the contract and whatnot. But I think Broncos country will probably trade him if just I'm predicting that, generally speaking, as my number 2. And my number 3 is going to be my gut reaction says that Broncos country. I'm going to go for like all the marbles here and just basically kind of blow up Broncos country's dreams and hopes and wishes. I think that the Broncos country, either 53-man roster cut down or midseason, will trade Riley Moss. I think Riley Moss, because I don't believe we're going to have the cap space to retain him this season. After this season, rather. I think that we're going to look to try to backfill him through whether it be a trade, whether it be our UDFAs and other guys on the roster. I think that the Broncos are going to try to backfill him and get draft capital. So I think we're going to try to get like a 3rd or a 4th for him. I think we're going to try to find something in that regards because I think he's going to be a pretty sought-after commodity at the end of the season.
Look, everything you're saying makes sense, but I feel like you guys are in your Super Bowl window, and they want the best players right now. And I think Riley Moss is.
I agree, but my problem with Riley Moss is that, so realistically speaking, based on what we've seen these past 2 to 3 seasons, you're getting between a 4th and a 5th as a comp pick. And so if you can get a 3rd for Riley Moss this year, knowing that you're not going to get it next year, and knowing that Chris Abrams-Drain has been a pretty solid player, you also have 1 or 2 UDFAs in the cornerback position that are looking like quite good, actually, in terms of like on paper stuff. The Broncos have done so well at targeting UDFAs that have gone under the radar. Like, let's look at it this way. Jaquan McMillan was a UDFA in 2022, and we're trying to re-sign him to a mid to high-end market value right now. He is that good. Let's also not forget that we also drafted Jahdae Barron in the first round last year. And he hasn't been able to get on the field because Jaquan McMillan is too good. Right? Like, he's just too good.
Really good problem to have.
Yeah, like that's a real good problem to have in your cornerback room, right? Like, I have too many good ones, right? Like, Like I have a first round draft pick that's not good enough to crack the roster. You know what I mean? Like as in terms of starters. So it's ridiculous, right? Like it's crazy, right? And so I think that that's where you're going to see the Broncos maybe make some moves, which is Jahdae Barron is the depth behind Riley Moss. I think Jahdae Barron.
And this is from the Waddle trade, right? This is stemming from the Waddle trade, like the draft capital. No, did you say because I thought you said you don't have a third because of something?
No. If you look at the comp pick, so I think Riley Moss is going to get a pretty good contract at the end of the season with another team. And as a result of the contract versus the deficit in terms of the free agents we're going to bring in, the Riley Moss contract, in my opinion, is probably going to be somewhere netting us around a 4th or 5th round comp pick. And so if you can get a 3rd or higher for Riley Moss this season, knowing that you cannot pay him at the end of this season.
Jahdae Barron was 24 draft pick? That's what Jack's saying.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Why do I feel like he was a 25 draft pick? Yeah, last year, Jack 25. If he was a 24 draft pick, like that means that he would have been played 2 seasons already. Or am I wrong? By the way, and then G-Fan
talked about... the 22. No. He was the 2025 first round draft pick. Yeah. Please stop correcting me when I'm not wrong. He's the 2025 first round draft pick for the Denver Broncos, which was last.
I just questioned my sanity there for a second.
Yeah. So it's not this past draft that we just finished. It was the year before. Yeah. And so, like, the long and the short of it is this. Jaquan McMillan was on the ascension, but he hadn't taken the full leap to being like a complete lock as a starter. Where he had a few quirks. And then Jaquan McMillan said, I'm not giving up my job. And he came out last season and absolutely like lit the league on fire with his play on
with those with your secondary guys, how many of those guys do they move around position wise, or do they not need to? Because you guys are relatively really healthy secondary wise, so you don't really get to see versatility as much, which is a good and bad thing. But it makes me wonder, like Jaquan or Jahdae, like if they play nickel, what did it say? I'm a Raiders fan, question my sanity. That's funny.
That's hilarious.
But it makes me wonder, like, how versatile, like, some of these guys are. Like, can they play? How many of your guys can play outside? You know, if they needed to, if like something happened.
Jaquan McMillan can play outside and inside, although he's best as a slot corner. You have Abrams Drain that's both inside and outside. Jahdae Barron is better served inside, but he can also play outside. So we have an absolute plethora of options in that regard.
Okay.
Yeah. DZ, I'm going to throw over just one quick question to you. I just have to quickly let the dog outside.
Yeah.
And then you go ahead and take it from here. I'll be just like a minute or two.
Okay. GFAM, your question, whatever, up here about Waddle. I am not stoked about the Broncos with freaking Waddle, man. We know Peyton's going to dial up something for this guy. We know how lethal this dude is with his speed and especially with his yak ability. I'm not stoked about this at all. Like, I think he's going to put a lot of secondaries in a bind because even with Courtland Sutton, and we know Courtland Sutton isn't like Courtland Sutton of old. Like, I mean, he's obviously really good in the red zone, but you know, they still have Troy Franklin and Mims and little Jordan Humphrey. Like, they got a stacked wide receiver room. How do I feel about decent? So this is another thing I was talking about. So O'Leary was our safeties coach 2 years ago, So I think this is going to bode well for our secondary. Now, he has talked about how he wants to make the defense more aggressive. So I got a feeling that they're going to blitz a lot more than Minter did. Jesse Minter didn't blitz that much. And our defense was really good, solid, top to bottom, and all stats except for run defense. They kind of struggled with run defense, especially with running backs that bounce it to the outside. And they didn't really bring in personnel to kind of stop that. So we'll see. But my biggest thing, GFAM, is Minter was really good with in-game corrections. He could get the defense. He could switch them in-game, and he'd be like, all right, this isn't working. We're going to switch this. That's going to be my biggest thing, and probably the Chargers' biggest thing with Chris O'Leary being a young guy. Like, hey, dude, what are you going to do when you go against these really good OCs and really good offenses? Like, how are you going to be? How is your in-game management going to be? So that's my biggest question with Chris O'Leary. Now, this is like a Harbaugh thing, I guess. They've had this guy pegged as, pause as the kids say, as becoming the DC or becoming something. And he's sent like other guys before into college and then having them come back to the NFL when they've gained more experience. But I'm definitely like the fact that he wants to make the defense more aggressive, more blitzing, things like that. But in-game management, who knows, man? I have no clue yet. Oh, I didn't. Sorry.
I come back and I see this nonsense.
I didn't. I put that up on accident, but you might have put it up.
So I don't think that's correct. I mean, McMillan has traditionally not received a ton of penalties.
So we also, while you were gone, we talked about Waddle. And I pretty much said that with Sean Payton, I know you guys are getting a new OC, but it's going to be a Sean Payton offense with a twist. That's what it's going to be. But with Waddle, his yak ability and speed, it's really going to put, a hurting on secondaries. It's going to be challenging, especially I could see it especially if you guys line up like trips or something, right? You put Mims, Waddle, and maybe Troy Franklin or somebody out there, right? And just
I had on my list. So I had that on a previous. So for those of you who don't know, Mike Carmelini runs another Broncos podcast. It's called Mile High Monsters. He was on the show earlier. He came in, commented a couple times. He's a great fan of the show. He's followed me kind of throughout my podcast. He's actually ranked the Wild Wild West within his top 10 to 15 Broncos podcasts out there on the internet. So I really appreciate Carmelini and him coming in and hyping up the show and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, so my thing that I've said on on his show as well as on another show, which is if the Broncos try to go to a full speed set, so like a set of trips where you're basically going to say, try to catch us, right, in terms of speed, you'd have Mims, you'd have Waddle, and you'd have Franklin. And
all pretty dynamic, man.
Like they're very, very gifted. And then if you add on to that, by example, by having, so you have the trips in those guys, and then you add on to that by maybe having, say, someone like Caleb Lohner, who is a very big, tall, fast guy, plus add on someone like, I don't know, a J.K. Dobbins or even an R.J. Harvey in the backfield. It's basically a pure speed and like tactician style group of guys on the field. And I think that will really, really force other teams to rethink their approach for the Denver Broncos offense. And God family there, you made an interesting comment with the Waddle piece. Jalen Waddle, to me, is the guy that's going to force teams to be more honest when Bo Nix is on the field throwing the football. And the true beneficiary of Jalen Waddle, in my opinion, in terms of what Waddle is going to bring to my team, is it's going to force teams to play the entire field And as a result, the true beneficiary for my Denver Broncos is going to be the running game.
Yeah.
Um,
I was just thinking that too, because they're going to stretch
So-
the field.
so
You
yeah.
have the projected number one offense line, whether it is or whether it's not. Ready? So it's the top of the line. We know what JK can do when he's healthy, right? So say you do put Waddle and Franklin or whatever on that field. I don't care what tight end you have out there. That opens up that run game. Like it's just gonna keep defenses honest, essentially. Yeah, 4-4-1's solid, decent.
it's
You know
a,
what I
that,
mean?
that's a solid 40 time, but
We're
Jack,
acting like that's like slow or something. Give me
Yeah.
a break.
yeah. The thing with Troy Franklin isn't just that his 40 is quick. It's that when you look at his three cone drill, he's
Yeah.
also very quick. And when you watch his game film,
See, game
His-
speed's a completely
his
different thing.
game speed is totally different. He is very fast,
Yeah.
and I mean very fast.
There's a
and
guy. Go ahead,
So
sorry.
go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
sorry,
Yeah,
I interrupted
yeah,
you.
Yeah. go ahead.
There's a guy the Chargers drafted, and I want to see him with pads against NFL caliber secondary guys. But we drafted a guy that runs a 4.26, and I'm like, all right, let's see what he can do against real cornerbacks. You know what I mean? Because these real NFL cornerbacks, they get a hand on you, you're done. You could be done, right? Unless so, like, yeah. Oh, I just saw that. I was like, okay, let's see your model. I want to see his jersey sales. I bet you they're selling like hotcakes.
I think so too. I've heard something similar that the Waddle jerseys are certainly, we'll say, exceeding expectations. I think is an appropriate, phrase to use. But I mean, at the end of the day, just to recap, kind of like cover off the remainder of the show, and we'll kind of leave it there, and we'll cover off just some last minute kind of cleanup stuff here at the end of the show. But I have for my Denver Broncos, I think you're going to have a revamped combination of the outside and inside linebacker room by leveraging certain players that have versatility for both inside and outside linebacker. So for my Denver Broncos, that would be Jonah Ellis, that would be Drew Sanders, and Deshaun McCullough. I think Drew Sanders is cut because the dude has a stiff wind and he's in the hospital bed, so I think he's gone. But then I think Deshaun McCullough is going to be a guy that will surprise Broncos country, and I think will end up making the 53-man roster as the versatility guy who can go between the two linebacker rooms, but then also has the special teams ability as well. So that's my number one. My number two is I believe that Powers is gone. I think people are going to trade or cut him. I think likely a trade because I think he's too valuable a player to not be able to trade. I think too many teams are going to want him, and so we'll have a bidding war, as it were. But I think that teams are going to be getting good value for the trade because they're going to know that we're trying to get rid of him as opposed to, reluctantly trading him, as it were. Riley Moss, on the other hand, is exactly as you said, and he's my number three for my Denver Broncos, DZ. Riley Moss is the reluctant trade. Riley Moss is the guy that we would rather keep, but if you're going to give me a second or a third, I'm going to trade him anyway, kind of thing. And so I actually think that Riley Moss is that dark horse for my Denver Broncos. And again, I think he just simply gets traded, or we're willing to trade him on the simple basis that we can't pay him next year. It's just a simple fact. There is no getting around it. I think Bo Nix's extension comes next year. I think that we have other players that we're going to have to extend and keep on the roster next year. And in my opinion, I think that Riley Moss is going to be the odd man out, especially since we went out and got Jahdae Barron, who I believe is the heir apparent to Riley Moss, given what we've seen from him. So
I'm listening to you, but Robert has said Jalen Carter. Is there connections between the Raiders and Jalen Carter? Because please no, please God no. But I actually look, and you're probably going to say no. I think the defense. I'm not going to say takes a huge step back. I think this hurts your interior. I don't think you can just grab any guy and fill JFM's role.
I agree, but let me just pull up his name.
But is it going to be that drastic of a drop off?
No,
that's yet to be determined.
I don't think so. And so,
I mean, good for Drown. He got the bag in Tennessee, right?
So he got a good contract in Tennessee. He got a solid one in Tennessee. But Tyler Onyedum is a guy that we picked up. And if you look at his measurables, stats, get off, speed, the combination of the skill sets, he is basically the replacement for John Franklin Myers. And I don't expect anybody who is not a Broncos fan to not you're just not going to be following the Broncos roster. Like, why would you? As closely as, say, I am, for example. And so when you look at Tyler Onyedum, he is a legit clone of JFM. If you also look back at JFM, if we're going to be perfectly honest about his NFL career trajectory, he was not a household name until he came to the Broncos. He was basically average to mediocre, if you're going to be honest.
I did not know they're all a bunch of 4-3 guys there. That's pretty impressive.
Yes, yeah. I
love Dante Thornton, by the way. I'm really pissed the Raiders have Dante Thornton.
Yeah.
I think that guy,
I agree.
Somebody unlocks him. What is he, 6'4", runs a 4.3? Like, give me a fucking break.
Yeah. Dude. So he's kind of like Jalen Virgil was, if you remember him from last year that I was pretty high on. He's like 6'3", 6'4", ran like a 4.3, 4.35 kind of 40 sort of deal. And you're just like, that's ridiculous.
A guy that big,
ridiculous.
Just with that speed, like all they got to do is put a hand up and just,
Yeah. And so, and another guy that, that we had was there's a Buffalo return guy that ended up coming from the Broncos. He was called the Human Joystick. He went over there and killed it with Buffalo. And then we had another guy who was a return guy similar to that guy as well that the Broncos had. He went to Buffalo as well and absolutely killed it. And he went to Detroit and killed it for a bit there as well. So it just kind of goes to show you that the right guy and the right team can go a long way as long as the team is willing to utilize him the correct way. So I had a bit of a mixed bag of the three. So I had the inside linebacker, outside backer room. I had Ben Powers likely getting traded. And then I also had Riley Moss.
Probably makes zero sense. Robert's just cracking me up. It makes zero sense. He can't say. He's probably got to work on his route tree, but
no. You know what? I don't think Robert's wrong. I think the issue with Thornton is that a lot of guys that are super fast never learn technique.
No, they rely on their speed in college.
Because they're just like, I'm so damn fast, you can't catch me.
Yeah.
The problem is when they go to the NFL, we kind of hinted at this throughout multiple shows now, right? Where these guys have just solely relied on their athleticism, that they never learned how to actually play the game of football.
I mean, we'll see. I'm going to always remember that comment, but we'll see. Like, new coordinators can do new things with players, and I don't know, maybe get a new wide receiver coach in there as well.
Yep.
But your guys' offensive coaching did not do you guys any favor last year in Las Vegas. That guy is a special size and speed like that. I mean, you can't teach that. That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
So the question is going to be, can your current staff elevate his play? Yes or no? If they can, he's a dangerous weapon because you can't teach speed. You can teach technique.
Yeah.
So if they can teach him the technique to go along with the speed, he will be a very dangerous player for you.
So, they have he's going to be behind Naylor, Besh, Trey Tucker, right? Those are probably their top three wide receivers right now.
Yeah, I agree. So that does the Broncos. You covered off a bit of a mix on your team as well. You have your fullback. You have a couple other things as well that you finish off.
Yeah, so Bud Dupree, Scott Matlock, Junior Colson, those are the three. And out of the three, I hope Junior Colson pans out, because if he does, he would be a hell of a partner for Dan Henley.
Yeah. So, anywho, that would be a really interesting one for you. And I know Nav kind of brought in a couple of his own that we covered off earlier in the show. I wish I heard his third, but sounds like he had a power outage or an internet problem or whatever the case may be.
We've been having some crazy lightning down here.
Yeah, so we'll cover off from there. And I mean, the Chiefs side of things, like a lot of it comes down to like health. I think they made a lot of very good offseason additions. So the question is going to be, do the rookies pan out, and does the health kind of carry them through, right? And so that'll be an interesting piece for the Chiefs. I think a lot of it is going to be the who stays the healthiest, and are their rookies going to look good enough to beat out some of the veterans? I think are going to be the big question marks for them if I had to kind of summarize as a broad banner.
Somebody else you just brought up something that they did rosters or something. Somebody ranked rosters like NFL beat writer or something, and they had the Broncos the highest in the division, which I completely agree with. I'm like, yeah, hands up. But then they had the Chiefs above the Chargers, which really I was like, that didn't make any sense to me. I'm like, over the hill, freaking Kelsey, Creed Humphrey, sure. And then I'm like, where's all the rest of
No, let's forget all of those. No, forget all of those. The net of all of this is that even if you factor out last season, Mahomes, from a statistical perspective and where he was the past few years, has been a shell of himself for the last 2 to 3 years overall. Whereas Herbert, with your coaching staff, Harbaugh in particular, has been improving because he has a run game, because he has offensive
Rashee Rice, Rice, I don't know. I'm just not impressed with their roster at all. Like, they got Kenneth Walker, who I like. Kenneth Walker, don't get me wrong. Like, we'll see what he can do. And I like some of their up-and-coming tight ends, but, like, their whole secondary, they've kind of filled it up in the draft. I don't know. We'll see.
Look,
that's why we need to freaking gotta find a Chiefs person, because I need them to make this make sense to me. Though.
Their team is a what if. The Broncos were a what if a couple years ago, and we were able to solidify the roster with a.
He had a good core there for a while, and it's carried over.
Yeah. And so the question is that you have that core, do you have that vision to move your team forward?
Raiders have a good core too. I
agree.
They have some solid players that they're going to be able to build around.
I agree. So, ladies and gentlemen, that'll end us for tonight. We appreciate your patronage on the show. Now, as I stated earlier, the show will be moving over to the channel that's down below.
No more MHRT, fellas.
Yep. So go ahead and sub to that channel. I very much appreciate your patronage. We will go ahead and continue the show live over there on the Toops and Touchdowns channel on the YouTube. We will cover off primarily Broncos, but we're going to have a Wild Wild West show that will port over in its current format, as is, hosts and all, the whole bit. And we do have at least 2 Chiefs guys that we're in the process of vetting right now. I have one, and Aviz, you have one as well. We're seeing if we can't get that permanent Chiefs presence on the show. And we will be aiming towards a more structured show for you guys, so that we're able to keep this within certain topics and time frames and all that stuff to really drive home the value of the show and get you the content that you're looking for from all 4 divisional rivals, because at the end of the day, you want your friends close, but your enemies closer.
Bingo.
And this is a divisional rival show. So you're going to get a bunch of divisional information that you would otherwise miss as a result of just staying within your own little echo chamber. So we do.
There's no link, Robert. It's just you're going to have to probably look. He might throw the link in there, or you can just search it on the. There you go.
I just dumped that there in the chat again for you guys, so you can go ahead and sub to that channel. That'll be wholly owned and operated by yours truly to make sure that the show comes to you on a weekly basis. We are probably, just in full disclosure, going to probably take a week or 2 as a bit of a hiatus or gap as we allow the mini camp and stuff to kind of develop a little bit. And then once we have the mini camp information and some other, real solid topics to bring you, some real solid information, we'll be back on air on that weekly basis to bring you the AFC West news and updates and all of those big things. So, ladies and gentlemen, that'll do it for the show. YouTube channel link down below. We got ahead and got the channel information where you can go ahead and follow us live. By the way, DZ's channel will also be included in all future updates here on the show. He does have a channel of his own on the YouTubes. And then we'll go ahead and get Navman's and or Raiders Unleashed. Between the two of them, they'll be covering off the Raiders content here on the show. And we'll get all of that information in the description for every video going forward, because at the end of the day, it's important to get all the information from your divisional rivals, because you play them basically 6 times, 7 times a year total. They make up a good portion of our individual schedules. And frankly, you don't get into the playoffs unless you win the division, basically, for the most part. So that's a surefire way of getting yourself in. But next time, guys, we will be broadcasting on different channels to different folks. And until next time, where the West Side is the best side. Peace!
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Tempo's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle. Wait a minute, work hard for the car, so that's why it's all tinted. Wait a minute, had a real late night, woke up with my